Every morning at 0600 sharp, I'd raise the flag with the precision of 20 years of reveille, the crisp snap of old glory, a ritual that steadied my soul. Clara's roses climbed the trellis I crafted, their morning fragrance blending with the dew-kissed granite stones, each one a tribute to a fallen brother, names carved with care, stories etched to outlast the subdivision itself. At sunset, wind chimes played Taps, Marcus's favorite melody, a haunting echo that carried his spirit through the cooling air. This wasn't some suburban lawn decoration. It was sacred ground, a testament to love, loss, and resilience. Now, zoom out to Willowbrook Estates, a sprawling 340-home suburb carved out of Virginia farmland between 1987 and 2003, back when developers chased the American dream with cookie-cutter colonials and ostentatious McMansions. Lawns were manicured to perfection, mailboxes aligned like soldiers on parade, and HOA fees of $340 a month, half my disability pension, bought the privilege of adhering to a 200-page rule book thicker than a Marine field manual, packed with 847 regulations. It was suburbia dialed to 11, where conformity was king and individuality a crime. My daily routine became the neighborhood's quiet heartbeat. Flag up at dawn, coffee brewing strong enough to rouse Arlington Cemetery, the scent of memorial roses drifting over perfectly edged sidewalks. Neighbors nodded in respect, some even saluted as they passed. But lurking across the street was Cordelia Blackstone, a storm in designer heels. At 44, she was a failed city council candidate turned HOA president, always dressed as if auditioning for a CNN panel she'd never land. Her white Tesla a status symbol she could barely afford to fuel. Her $2.8 million mansion screamed success to anyone within eyeshot, but behind the facade lay desperation. An $18,000 monthly mortgage on a real estate portfolio crashing faster than her political dreams, foreclosure notices stacking up like a house of cards. She needed victories, big, visible ones, to prove she could manage the community and prop up property values. My garden, with its raw emotion and military pride, became her perfect target, a chance to flex her authority and silence a perceived threat. The violation notice landed like a mortar shell. Taped over my Purple Heart plaque while dew still sparkled on the flag, it cited Rule 247C, no permanent structures or political religious displays. The irony was thick. The rulebook defined political as campaign signs and religious as non-Christian symbols, yet somehow an American flag honoring fallen Marines qualified as both. Her demands were a gut punch. Dismantle the flagpole, remove the granite stones, uproot Clara's roses, erase the bench where I sat to remember. 48 hours to obliterate 2 years of healing, or face $500 daily fines that would bleed my pension dry faster than VA bureaucracy. I could smell the fresh ink on the paper, mingling with the faint trace of her smug perfume as she watched from her floor-to-ceiling windows, savoring my shock like a predator savoring prey. What she didn't know, what she couldn't fathom, was that this was about to ignite a war she'd lose spectacularly. I learned in the Marines, before you engage, gather intel. So, with my heart pounding and hands steady, I started digging into the past, and what I unearthed would make her regret ever crossing my path. 3 days later, I stepped out to raise the flag and froze. Old Glory hung in tatters, not torn by wind, but sliced with box cutters, the wet fabric strips dangling like a personal insult in the morning dew. The betrayal stung sharper than shrapnel. This wasn't about rules anymore. This was personal, a declaration of war. I spent $200 from my disability check on military grouse, to security cameras, because you don't enter combat half-prepared. While Cordelia smirked from her kitchen window, thinking I was waving a white flag, stood. I have invoices proving you paid for vandalism. Rodriguez projected footage of her directing crimes. I took the mic in dress blues. I own this land, 248 acres, including your house. Chaos. Agent Smith arrested her. Conspiracy, fraud, rights violations, intimidation, terrorism. She lunged, screaming, but handcuffs clicked. Ovation erupted. 6 months later, Willowbrook transformed. Cordelia got 18 years, $2.8 million restitution. Her mansion? Veteran housing. The Willowbrook Federal Protection Act shields memorials nationwide. My garden expanded to Memorial Park, healing 400 vets yearly. I remarried Sarah, my counselor. Our wedding in the park drew vets nationwide. Property values up 22%, festival draws, 12,000. Scholarships funded, precedents set. Evenings, I sit on my bench, wind chimes playing, knowing Samuel's foresight won. If your HOA targets you, call. Federal laws on your side. Subscribe for more triumphs. You're a widowed Marine veteran, your body and soul scarred from 2 grueling tours in Afghanistan, where you lost not just comrades, but your only son to the deafening blast of an IED. For 2 years, you've poured every ounce of your grief and resilience into crafting a memorial garden in your backyard. A sacred space, where your late wife Clara's white roses climb a trellis you built with your own hands, where a flagpole stands tall to fly Old Glory at dawn, and where granite stones bear the carved names of fallen brothers, etched deep enough to defy time. It's not just a garden, it's your sanctuary, a place where pain transforms into quiet honor, where the morning dew mixes with the scent of roses and the metallic tang of memory. Then, on a misty Tuesday morning at 6 a.m., an HOA queen from her gleaming $2.8 million McMansion across the street slaps a violation notice on your door, branding your tribute an ugly eyesore and demanding you rip it all out within 48 hours, or face fines that could drain your disability pension faster than a desert sandstorm. Your blood boils. How dare they trample on your family's memory? But wait. What if, in the next 20 minutes of rifling through dusty old papers, you uncover a bombshell that turns the tables? What if you discover you legally own the entire neighborhood, including her lavish estate? Stick around, because this is the gripping tale of how I, Ezra Mitchell, transformed HOA harassment into an epic victory that'll leave you on the edge of your seat. It's a story of betrayal, legal warfare, and justice served with a side of poetic irony. If you've got your own HOA nightmare, drop it in the comments. I read every single one. Hit that like button if you're ready for an underdog triumph, and let's dive into this roller coaster of suspense and redemption. This isn't just revenge. It's a masterclass in property law, veteran rights, and why you never underestimate a Marine's resolve. Let me paint the full picture, because knowing who I am makes this journey resonate deeper. I'm Ezra Mitchell, 52, a retired Marine with the kind of quiet, unshakable strength forged in the crucible of combat. 2 tours in Afghanistan left me with a purple heart pinned to my chest, a slight limp from shrapnel that still aches on rainy days, and nightmares that jolt me awake at 3 a.m. But the deepest wounds came stateside. My beloved Clara, taken by cancer, her final days spent tenderly planting those white roses, whispering how they'd bloom as her eternal legacy. Then, my son Marcus, Lance Corporal Marcus Mitchell, snatched away in 2019 by an IED that left nothing but silence where his laughter once rang. A double tragedy that could break any man, but Marines don't break. We adapt. We rebuild. That memorial garden became my lifeline, my act of defiance against despair. Every morning at 600 sharp, I'd raise the flag with the precision of 20 years of reveille, the crisp snap of Old Glory, a ritual that steadied my soul. Clara's roses climbed the trellis I crafted, their morning fragrance blending. Never mind that the rulebook defined political as campaign signs and religious as non-Christian symbols, somehow an American flag honoring Marines qualified. Her demands, Dismantle the flagpole, remove the stones, uproot Clara's roses, erase the bench. 48 hours or $500 daily fines that'd drain my pension faster than VA red tape. I could smell the fresh ink on the paper, mixed with her smug perfume as she watched from her window, savoring my shock. What she didn't know? This was about to backfire spectacularly. I learned in the Marines, gather intel before striking. So I started digging, and what I found would make her regret ever picking this fight. 3 days later, I stepped out to raise the flag and found Old Glory shredded, not torn by wind but sliced with box cutters. Wet fabric strips dangled like betrayal in the dew. This wasn't rules, this was war. I installed military-grade cameras, $200 from my check because you don't fight half-equipped. While Cordelia smirked from her kitchen, thinking I was caving, I was gearing up. That night, my cameras caught her voice on audio. Her directing contractors from an HOA truck, headlights off, dumping herbicide on my garden. "Make that military shrine look like shit," she hissed. "Dead wives don't get monuments." The footage was gold, her face lit by streetlights, personally overseeing the destruction. My heart burned, but I stayed calm. Veterans talk, and soon I learned this was bigger. 12 veteran families targeted. Mrs. Patterson, a Gold Star mother, had her Blue Star banner fined. The Kims faced penalties for their Korean War grandpa's memorial. Lieutenant Colonel Rodriguez got hassled for his Purple Heart flag. Systematic, coordinated persecution. Escalation came fast. Clara's roses hacked with bleach on the roots, the chlorine stench like a slow kill. Spray paint on my stones. Warmongers in dripping yellow, reeking of Sully, fur. Then the Neighborhood Standards Committee, Cordelia and her wine-sipping cronies, photographed every veteran's home like enemy recon. But they missed our network. We veterans shared intel, documenting 47 incidents, $23,000 in damage. Invoices from Mrs. Patterson showed HOA payments to Cordelia's company for maintenance that matched vandalism dates, $15,000 for tree trimming that toppled flagpoles, $8,000 for irrigation repair that killed flowers. Fraud, plain and simple. I called Marine Corps Legal Services. Captain Jennifer Walsh reviewed the evidence. "This is RICO territory, organized crime against veterans." The FBI got involved, Agent Sarah Smith confirming hate crimes. My construction background kicked in. Before disability, I'd seen developers retain rights like minerals or easements. Digging in county records, I traced deeds. My policy listed Mitchell Family Holdings LLC as owner, not me. Weird, since my VA loan was in my name. Agent Smith pulled records. My grandfather Samuel, a Wubby-Woo vet, never sold the land in 1987. He let developers build, but retained ground ownership. We owned 248 acres of the 339-acre subdivision, including Cordelia's lot. She'd been renting from my trust unknowingly. Her mortgage? Void without landowner approval. The HOA's authority? Bogus. Every fine, assessment, violation, fraud. Cordelia upped the ante. Emergency $2,400 assessments on 13 veteran homes. Utility cuts to my garden. A veteran relocation program flyer suggesting we move to suitable housing, code for get out. Break-ins. She rifled my home for meds and records, caught on camera. Coordinated hits on all veterans' homes while we were at a Memorial Day ceremony. She suggested we skip. But we were ready. Our cameras, FBI vans, police coordination. She hired bots for anti-veteran smears, filed false police reports of us stockpiling weapons, even vandalized her Owens on Tesla as a false flag. Phone records tied her to hate groups, domestic terrorism charges. The trap sprang at the community meeting. Cordelia's PowerPoint slandered us as threats. Mrs. Patterson, you're a widowed Marine veteran, scarred by 2 tours in Afghanistan, where you lost not just comrades but your only son to an IED blast. You've poured your soul into a memorial garden in your backyard. Your late wife's favorite white roses climbing a hand-built trellis, a flagpole flying Old Glory at dawn, and granite stones etched with the names of fallen brothers. It's not just landscaping. It's your sanctuary, a place where grief turns to quiet honor. Then, one misty Tuesday morning, an HOA queen from her $2.8 million McMansion slaps a violation notice on your door, calling your tribute an ugly eyesore, and giving you 48 hours to rip it all out or face crippling fines. Your blood boils. How dare they desecrate your family's memory? But hold on. What if, in the next 20 minutes of digging through old papers, you uncover a secret that flips the script? What if you discover you own the entire neighborhood, including her fancy house? Stick around, because this is the story of how I, Ezra Mitchell, turned HOA harassment into total victory. It's a tale of betrayal, legal twists, and sweet justice that'll have you cheering. If you've got an HOA horror story, drop it in the comments. I read every one. Hit like if you're ready for some underdog triumph, and let's dive in. This isn't just revenge. It's a lesson in property law, veteran rights, and why you should never mess with a Marine's legacy. Let me set the scene properly, because understanding who I am makes this story hit harder. I'm Ezra Mitchell, 52, a retired Marine with the kind of quiet strength forged in the fires of combat. 2 tours in Afghanistan left me with a purple heart, a limp from shrapnel, and memories that wake me at 3 a.m. But the real wounds came later. My wife Clara lost to cancer. Her final days spent planting those white roses in our garden, whispering how they'd bloom forever in her memory. Then, my son Marcus, Lance Corporal Marcus Mitchell, gone in a flash from an IED in 2019, double tragedy that could shatter anyone. But Marines don't shatter. We rebuild. That memorial garden became my lifeline. Every morning at 0600 sharp, I'd raise the flag, muscle memory from 20 years of reveille. The rose's fragrance mixed with dew on the granite stones, each one honoring a fallen brother. Names carved deep, stories etched in stone. Wind chimes played taps at sunset, a haunting melody that was Marcus's favorite. This wasn't decor. It was sacred ground, a place where pain met purpose. Now, zoom out to Willowbrook Estates, a sprawling 340-home suburb in Virginia, built on old farmland from 1987 to 2003, when developers dreamed big on cookie-cutter colonials and oversized McMansions. Lawns manicured to perfection, mailboxes all matching, and HOA fees of $340 a month, half my disability pension, just to follow a 200-page rulebook thicker than a Marine field manual. It was suburbia on steroids, where conformity reigned supreme. My routine became the neighborhood's quiet rhythm. Flag up at dawn, coffee brewing strong enough to wake the dead, roses scenting the air. Neighbors respected it, some even saluted. But then there was Cordelia Blackstone, across the street in her gleaming $2.8 million fortress. At 44, she was a failed city council candidate turned HOA president, always dressed for a boardroom battle, driving a white Tesla she could barely afford. Her house screamed success to anyone glancing her way, but behind the facade, desperation. An $18,000 monthly mortgage on crashing real estate investments, foreclosure notices piling up like unpaid bills. She needed wins, big, visible ones, to prove she could manage the community and boost property values. My garden became her target, her golden ticket to show she was in control. The violation notice hit like a sucker punch. And taped right over my Purple Heart plaque while dew still clung to the flag, it cited Rule 247C, no permanent structures or political religious displays.